Welcome to Murphy, Sam, and Jodi after the show. Earlier Jodi was talking about locking me out of the bedroom because, whenever she's binge watching Game of Thrones, it really has become our running joke. I watched season 1 with Jodi years ago, and that was as far as I ever got into.
Or cared to get. I mean, it's not for everybody.
Fantasy's not your thing.
Well, I don't know. It was just
not that kind of fantasy.
It was a little heavy for me. I don't know. I mean, I get it. It's too.
I knew it from the moment that you walked in and said, "I'll watch it with you." I'm thinking this is not going to last because I know you. It is not your kind of show. And the only reason I ever gave it a chance is I had too many friends going, "Jodi, you would love this."
Look,
they were right.
It is a cinematic work of art. There is no doubt that everything from the acting to the script writing, everything about it is...
Even the dinosaurs, even the dragons did a great job.
And you didn't even get to the dragons.
Well, no, I did.
No.
So when
you walked in on a bunch of dragons.
Daenerys walked through the fire and her dragon eggs were okay.
Those baby dragons.
Babies. I'm talking big ones.
Well, so I did see the big ones burn up something on a battlefield in one episode.
Yeah, because you always walk in.
Yeah.
Murphy's synopsis of Game of Thrones.
Yeah, he wants to walk in, and I'm in like season 6 or 7 and wants to ask a question.
Who's that?
Yeah, it's like, well, I know you didn't just ask me that.
So I stopped asking the questions, especially during the episode. Now, I may wait later, and ask it and say, okay, so this whole brother-sister thing between,
Still going on.
Yeah, right, exactly. And, it's like, wow, okay. Because wasn't that like the whole beginning of the problem,
That was the whole end of the problem, too.
After I watched the first episode, I will never forget walking into the studio, and it was producer David, was one of those friends who was saying, "You've got to watch it, Jodi." I walked in and I said, "Are they really brother and sister?" And he died laughing because I thought for a second maybe they're really not brother and sister, but they are and were fictionally.
Yeah. Well, but and by the way, I guess we probably should say no spoilers, right? Even for somebody that's starting to binge Game of Thrones now, we don't really want to do any spoilers on this podcast, right?
Well, wait.
I'm not going to.
Why don't we just say that we're about to talk about stuff, and that way, if you want to piece out of this podcast because you never watched it,
yeah. Well, so, there are little things that, I just picked up along the way, right?
This would be fun to hear what he thinks is actually happening based on what actually happened.
Well, and I still actually
watched it.
I don't know the ending other than maybe some things that, other than the fact that, the music was playing pretty dramatically at the end and Jon Snow was on a horse.
Yeah.
I'm guessing that he must have been the victor at the end. I didn't see Daenerys anywhere. Now, here's the thing, about...
I wouldn't call him a victor.
Yeah, survivor.
Yes.
Really? Okay.
Very good, Sam.
Well, that would explain why he wasn't smiling then. Okay, so I get that.
He never smiled anyway.
He smiled some.
Yeah.
Every once in a great while.
So he was one of the few... Was he considered a Lannister or not?
Oh, my God. This is what it's like living.
That's what happens. There's a fine example right there.
And I'm in it.
Is he a Lannister?
And he jumps in on my, it's my time for something I really love.
I have always been trying to find the right moment to use. There's one joke that I've never really known when I could actually use, the joke to walk in the room and go, well, those Lannisters, you never know when one of them's going to lose their head.
Hand.
Right.
Lose
or
their
hand. Okay. So, so in season 1, I thought that was a Lannister that lost his head.
No, sweetie. That was Eddard Stark.
That was a Stark.
Who lost his head.
Okay. See,
and that whole war began.
Because he lost his... Okay, got it.
I'm sorry.
See, that's what happens when I don't watch the series and I blow the joke.
Let me tell you this. I'm going to throw you a bone here or give you I started reading the first book. I read the first book. The first book really mirrors the first season almost completely. And when I first started reading the book, I could not follow. There were so many characters with so many strange names and houses. I couldn't follow the book. I took the book and threw it across the room. And then I started watching it.
Yeah, I remember that.
And then I read the book. So once you put a face to those names, you can read it and really enjoy it. So if you've watched the show, you could read the books. And there's so much more there. Like one of my favorite characters was Jorah. Oh, I love Jorah.
The explorer?
He was not an explorer, but I did love him. And there's more to him in the book. There was also a lot more to understanding Theon in the book.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh. All that he went through, all the crazy stuff he did after all his trauma, you understand better if you read the book. So I'm a proponent for reading if you're really into the story and you want something else to do. But what I'm saying is, Murphy, I'm throwing you a bone that it's very hard to follow. If you watched one season and it's been 6 years, which it has been, of course you don't know that that's not a Lannister joke. Like, of course, how could you?
I know, and and maybe one day I will. Maybe one day I will get into it. I had high hopes for it because I really. What?
Why do you say stuff like
I
that?
had high
Be
hopes for
yourself.
it, but it seemed like a failure.
was-
It's Game of
It's
Thrones.
not you. I wouldn't want you to watch it because
Well,
I would have to sit and explain all the time.
Oddly enough, the dragons part, I'm kind of like, this is kind of cool because this gives Daenerys the upper hand. When she walked,
it's not Daenerys.
Daenerys, whatever, Khaleesi, when she walked through the fire and did not burn her dragon eggs.
No.
What?
Her dragons were hatched in the fire.
Oh, they were hatched.
I think
in the
he's
fire?
talking about something else.
She didn't. Her skin didn't burn.
Right. And so I'm like, wow, okay, so this is somebody who's got the upper hand now. I can't wait to see what happens next season.
So let me quit watching.
She did some more fire walking too.
Is there anything fantasy like that you get lost in, Murphy? Ever? I mean, because I know
You
you're
mean like medieval fantasy kind of stuff?
Anything.
Star
Harry
Wars-
Potter,
Star Wars is fantasy.
He's not into any of it.
Okay, well, so there was a time.
Good question, Sam.
Yeah, that's a really good question. Star Wars, it was all right. Star Trek is a TV series. There was a time.
No, Star Trek is.
Wait, what do you mean? It's fantasy.
It is fantasy.
I got into that. Would you consider Indiana Jones fantasy or not?
You think?
Yeah.
I like that. Back to the Future. I know that's very 1980s. Would
Yeah.
you consider that fantasy?
It's all. And by
I love
fantasy,
that.
I don't mean wizards and all that. I just mean something that's not real.
Pure
that
fiction
can
that you
get
love.
lost in.
Yeah. So
Not like those books you read.
yeah, I've only watched one Harry Potter movie, and I did. What's Jodi shaking her head? I enjoyed that.
It's okay. It's just funny that you always give one. You're one in.
Yeah.
He's one in
So-
everything.
But that was it. You didn't go with the other 7. You were so enthralled that
No. Yeah, and I guess I should have.
they're still out there.
That's
yeah,
not you.
And I don't know that I grasped it well enough. So who was the guy that when he turned around, he had a small head on the back of his head? Who was that?
Voldemort.
That's Voldemort. Okay.
Well, Voldemort was stuck in somebody else's head from that first story. Help me, Bailey. Voldemort was in him. The other guy was like the host.
Oh yeah.
It was Professor Quirrell.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That was from
Okay.
like the first book, so it took me a minute.
Right. That's a little creepy.
I do understand and get you. There's no reason for you to force yourself into doing something that you're not interested in.
Yeah.
I love all that stuff and I get into it and I enjoy it. That's my escape. But that doesn't mean you have to. In fact, don't. I would never finish a marketing book. I promise you that because I never have. Once in a
That's
great
two of us.
when Murphy and I first got together, and he's reading that kind of stuff all the time, and I'm reading fun stuff, and I'm like, oh, he's like, you should read this. I picked it up. I'm like, okay,
Well,
and that's interesting.
Yeah.
I'm done.
Well, and see, the
One
beauty
chapter.
of marketing books is you don't ever really have to finish them. You read the pieces that apply. They're cover to cover. They're resource books, but we don't need to go down that road, right?
Anyway, that's just who you are.
Yeah, but I mean,
I'm not going to read marketing books.
It's
But
so
like for fantasy escape, you can't just like turn it off and I got to watch this movie to get.
I don't. I
lost.
seek that out. Like
Yeah.
I
It
don't
depends
understand
on-
not seeking it.
It depends on what the fiction is. So
Because the last movie you guys went to see was that Adam Sandler one, right?
Uncut Gems, not good.
It wasn't all that great.
I didn't like that movie.
Maybe it's more of the series. So like Ozark, that's
You love
fantasy.
that?
Yeah.
I love that. I think
Yeah.
that's incredible. The storytelling.
You liked Mad Men, too.
Maybe it's just the medieval stuff. It's never really, and maybe I'm calling it the wrong thing. I don't know why that's never been appealing to me. I'm like,
Doesn't
it's
matter.
okay. I mean, it's for one thing, it's all the same. I mean, to me, it's kind of like every medieval story. Everybody dresses the same.
Yeah.
They've all got the same weapons.
Yeah.
They all talk with a British accent. Don't know what that's about. You know, is it really representative of the time?
I don't think anything is like Game of Thrones.
That was
but
before America was discovered. So yes, everybody had a British accent.
But anyway, and I mean, it's maybe I just don't sound educated when I say that. But I don't know. It just doesn't.
it's not your thing.
It just doesn't appeal to me. I don't know why.
You don't
and
have to know
and there's
why.
nothing wrong with anybody who loves it. It just doesn't grab my attention. You
Yeah.
know, maybe I'm just a more contemporary.
You're a more serious person.
No. It's not about not being serious. Game of Thrones is pretty serious, I would say. It's pretty
escape.
graphic. It's pretty intense.
It's escape, though.
But don't you find it intense? It's heavy. I mean, even though it's escape, when you're done with an episode, are you a little like, oh my God, let me go do something
Actually,
fun?
watching it a second time, rebinging it, I laughed out loud more often.
Did
I was
you really?
Just dying laughing at Bronn and Tyrion. There's so much comedy in it. There really is. I know how everything's going to turn out anyway, so I'm not devastated when somebody gets their head chopped off. I know.
Well, okay.
I know it's coming.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just, so I guess my comedy is when I walk through the room and just kind of make quips to you,
Yeah.
poking at you.
Well, guess
but
what?
not in the middle of it. Not in the, not while you're watching it.
Finished during vacation. I started in like season 6 for fun, and so I did 6, 7, and 8, and that's my re-binge. My cousin Candace really wants me to start over at season 1 and watch with her, like hangouts with her or Google Home while we literally watch together.
Yeah.
Because she is like Bran. She knows everything. She could, and she wants me to do that with her. And I'm thinking about doing it. Although
she's like Bran. She knows everything. All right, come back, Jody.
Why did you go back to 6?
because I wanted to see the dragons do the
battle.
yeah. I was just
That's
like,
where all the good action is.
yes, there's some really good, unbelievable scenes.
Well, and I remember you showing me all the behind the scenes stuff, which that was fascinating to me too. And I know that HBO or whoever the production company was with HBO spent a lot more money on those 3 seasons than anything
they
previously,
had to.
right?
If they were going to bring that in, and I remember watching that with you, and I knew that was your jam. I'm like, okay, come watch this. This is how they shot it, which is unbelievable, Sam, if you never went back and watched that.
Yeah.
They knew that, I hear myself say it, and I know it sounds ridiculous. They knew that having a dragon come in and handle a situation is like having an F-18 handle a situation. And it was just so cool that they had to make that happen. They had to write it, and then they had to figure out how to film it, and then film it.
They had
And
to
when you go
find
back,
some dragons.
you go back and watch it, and
You don't want to see the strings.
anyway, I don't know what I'm binging again next, but I seek that sort of thing out every day. Something for me to escape into. I read.
Yeah.
I watch stuff.
That's
I'll
healthy.
just listen to music. I literally, if I go a day where it's all work and I go to bed, I'm not right.
Yeah.
I'm not balanced. So
Music has always been my biggest escape. Not that the other stuff, it's not that I can't get lost in a show or something like that, but it's always music first for me, then everything else.
what about you, Sam? What's your number one escape? Storytelling, like me, or
Yeah, it's
you watch stuff a lot.
Yeah, it's the rom-coms. I know. I have a problem.
That's cute. No. All the ladies of the world love that Sam loves a good rom-com.
But it's like I've been through them all. It's hard to find a new one because I've seen them all, and I've seen them all multiple times, and I have my favorites. And
have you really seen them all?
I'm sure there's 1 or 2 out there, but I have certain criteria before I get into a rom-com.
It has to be a comedy?
It's got to have a lot of comedy, and then there's certain people and certain ones that it's like I'm not going to believe it, so I'm not even wasting my time.
You mean
Okay.
like certain actors and actresses?
You don't.
And I know you're not going to like it, Jody.
I know.
But J-Lo.
Oh, yeah. I love J-Lo, but
She does nothing for me as far as those kind of and Julia Roberts, same thing. It's just like
yeah.
I can't wrap my head around and believe what you're doing right now.
Wow. Even
Yeah.
Julia?
Yeah,
Lord.
sorry.
I can believe both of them.
I know, but I know 2 people that do work for you. Reese Witherspoon
Oh,
and
yeah.
Drew Barrymore.
Yeah.
Those are your...
But Drew doesn't really do anything anymore, and that was really with Adam Sandler. For some reason, they had that thing.
They did. They had that Tom Hanks, Meg Ryan thing
Yeah.
for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. All right, everybody, remember to dabble in your own escapes every day a little bit. So Murphy, it's a marketing book tonight. That's fine. I'm going to find my next one too.
And by the way, Murphy, if you really dig deeply into it, and I don't want to turn people off, but like Star Wars and Game of Thrones, they're all based on like the mythology,
Yes.
medieval. I mean, Star Wars, even though it's a long time ago, live far, far away in space,
Right.
if you read into it, it's really based on mythology.
Like
Yes.
kind of Greek mythology, that
Yeah.
sort of storytelling.
It's
So
the
it's-
same story, just with a different coat of paint.
Yeah.